Good morning. This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net. And it is June the 1st already. And wow, things are changing in the world. And we have a wonderful person with us on today. Um, John Hall is not only a musician, but he has served our country in Congress. And for some of us, that probably is a very wonderful thing because what I've read about John, um, you are just a wonderful human being.
Thank you so much.
You're
I try to
welcome.
live up to that. I served in Congress for 4 years, representing a district in New York in the Hudson Valley, and but I also served on my local school board, and I served on county legislature, and with years in between. I didn't do 10 years continuously. I didn't really set out to have a career in politics. I already had a career, but so I'm back now to writing songs and performing and recording and all that stuff.
And you're in a wonderful area for performing because New York um, has so many wonderful venues to play at, large and small alike. Um, and we're now ready to get back to seeing live performance. So this should be a little more exciting this year than it probably was last year at this time.
Last year, I think none of us had ever gone through anything like this pandemic. And my parents were born right after the Spanish flu uh, hit or ended, and the early 20s. And I know that's where my mother's mother probably said, wash your hands about 10 times a day. And that's where that came from. And I heard that as a child. Um, I guess it's not a bad habit anyway, but I'm actually speaking to you from Nashville today.
Okay.
And we're getting ready. Orleans, my band Orleans, is getting ready to go out and do our first shows in a year and a half. This weekend, we're playing in Hiawassee, Georgia, and the week after that in Michigan, and the week after that in Iowa. And we are getting ready to go out on the road a bit, and it'll be a wonderful experience and new, almost a new experience to play in front of real people.
Right. Absolutely. So we know you just released something. So tell us about the newest release.
I just released an album or CD or a download or a stream called Reclaiming My Time, which is a collection of songs that mostly were written in the last year and a half and recorded during the lockdown in isolation. A lot of players from different areas, different parts of the country contributed by recording from home and then just sending a digital file so
Right.
that the engineer could combine them into a mix. The phrase reclaiming my time is one that's used on the floor of the House of Representatives when somebody's interrupted. If I were to be speaking on the House floor and somebody from across the aisle or my side of the aisle says, "May I comment on that?" I would say, "I recognize the gentleman from California or whatever state it is," and then he or she would speak. And when I wanted to get the rest of my 2 minutes, because that's usually what you have. It's like each member gets 2 minutes on each bill,
Wow.
or maybe five if you're lucky. But so if I want to get the last 30 seconds back, I would say, reclaiming my time, Madam Speaker. I'd like to say that, kaboom. It's just so it's that the title comes from that, but it's also reclaiming the songs and the music and the recording I might have done during the years I was in elective office. So, and I guess now we're all reclaiming the time that we and the activities and the hugs with family and friends and all the things that we missed over the last year or so, or 14 months. So it's it's a play on all of those things.
Absolutely. So obviously now we know where you got your idea from for the album. Okay. Do those ideas come to you very regularly, or do you have to just be in a special place at a special time for you to be able to say, um, I'm ready to sit down and write something?
Ideas come to me regularly. Every minute there's a bunch of ideas, but No, ideas for songs. The album title was just something like, who else could say that as an album title?
Okay.
Sonny Bono, as far as I know, Sonny Bono is the only other professional performing musician who was elected to the House of Representatives. So, so it's something that I could do that I will only be able to do once. And but the ideas for the songs come from different things. I've always written love songs. I mean, Still the One is a love song. Dance with Me is a love song, and it's a song about, listening to the music and feeling like you want to get the person you love and in your arms and move across the floor. It's a so they're all topics. Every song's a topical song, and I also write songs about, well, Alone Too Long. The first single from this album is about well, a friend of mine lost his wife a year and a half, just over a year and a half ago, to cancer, and he was in serious grief, and I was, there with him for the funeral and the visitation and all that stuff. And then a couple of days later, we sat down and started writing, and we kept writing for, since then. We've been writing songs pretty steadily. But after he had grieved for 8 months or something like that, he asked another friend, is it okay to start dating again? And his friend said, don't stay alone too long. You might start to like it.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, there's a song. So you never know. The song idea could come from a saying, somebody, a phrase you hear. Sometimes I'll be sitting in a restaurant and overhear a conversation at the next table and go, wow, that sounds like a title to a song. And sometimes it comes from the newspaper. And I've written songs that came right out of the Science Times of the New York Times. Or
Interesting.
there's a song on this record called Save the Monarch, which sounds like God Save the King, but it's actually Save the Monarch Butterfly. And Save the King, King Condor. And Save the Queen of the Honeybees. It's an environmental prayer. And so these songs, the ideas for songs really can come from almost anything. And sometimes it's the lyrics that come first, and sometimes it's the music that comes first. And if I'm lucky, they both come at the same time.
Absolutely. It's true. When you brought up butterflies, you know, butterflies are something that we don't see a lot of when we are walking out in our garden. We may see one or two. But yesterday, my husband and I went to the Arboretum here in Cleveland, and they have a butterfly um, exhibit. And we were walking amongst the butterflies. And it's funny that you should bring that up because I was feeling very joyous. I felt like dancing because of the butterflies.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand it until after I came home and I sat down. And I just thought about how wonderful the feeling was. And when you get those feelings, if you are a writer, um, it could be somewhat easy to come up with a song, a melody, something that's just going to touch our hearts. So, and you've been doing this for how many years?
A long time.
A long time.
Still the One was, I think, 46 years ago when that song, we released that song, and it was a hit. And thank God it still gets played today. But I started writing, well, I started playing guitar when I was 12. I started playing piano when I was 4.5. I taught myself to play the Marines hymn, except I didn't think of it as teaching. I just went,
Right.
this note goes with that note. And then my parents sent me to get piano lessons, and I studied French horn and played in the high school band and all that. And then I learned to play bass and drums and guitar. And so somewhere along the way, I started making up melodies. That's what I called it. I didn't call it writing or composing. Oh, I made up this little melody or this little chord progression. And so it's something you do with practice. And, um, there are different schools of writing. I used to be of the bolt of lightning theory, where I would sit and wait until an idea conked me on the head.
Right.
But I've learned over the years that the more you sit with your piano or your guitar and just show up, the more likely it is for the art or the inspiration to show up. So
Absolutely. How
yeah,
beautiful
it's
that is.
work. It's like anything else. It's work.
Right.
And my dad was an engineer. He used to say, "Work is anything that won't do itself."
Interesting comment. You're right. Absolutely. So your father was an engineer. So who else in the family had that musical inkling? Anybody?
Well, my father was an engineer, but he also sang in church and played pretty rough violin. I mean, you could tell what he was trying to play. And God love them. My parents are gone now, but they both sang, and my brothers and I sang in the car on the vacation trip, or in church or what have you, and high school chorus, and so it was. I grew up with music, and but I'm the only member of the family who set out to do it professionally.
I understand that. And so many of us are influenced by our parents and our grandparents. Um, my my paternal grandfather loved to write and mostly poetry, and he was more of a rhyming poet. My father followed in his footsteps, but it wasn't necessarily rhyming poetry. It was he would just get those thoughts and feelings out. And I have loose leaves of almost everything my father wrote over the years. And my brothers followed in their footsteps. And one day my father said to me, when I tried to write poetry, he said, "Leave that to us. That is not your forte." And so I never picked up a pen and paper again until a couple of years ago. And that's when I realized maybe poetry wasn't my forte, but um, blogging, writing, feeling, that was. And my father didn't live to see it, but I think he knows um, that I picked up his interests along the way. And
That's good.
when I listen to your music, any of us can identify with it. I mean, even a song from 40 years ago is still very popular today.
Yeah, that's really good to hear. Thank you. I try to write about human experiences. Being a human being, anything that makes me feel strongly about something. Whether it's trying to save the butterflies or the little bunnies in the backyard or the wild turkeys that sometimes come up to my deck when I walk out in the morning. There's a bunch of them there pecking away at birdseed. Um, but it's also relationship stuff. Uh, my first wife, Johanna, and I wrote a lot of songs together. She's a lyricist, and we worked together on Still the One and Dance with Me, and other songs like Give One Heart, a song Linda Ronstadt recorded, a song Good Enough that Bonnie Raitt recorded. That came out of actually a conversation I had with my mother. Um, she was the kind, no woman or no girl was good enough for her sons. And, and so the song starts, "The first time I brought you home, Mama said she ain't good enough." And and it goes from there that we find out who's compatible with us on our own. Our parents can't decide. Well, sometimes they try to decide that, but
Right.
they shouldn't. Sometimes we can't compete with our parents. My dad was such an accomplished scientist, PhD in electrical engineering, and a physicist. And I was supposedly going to Notre Dame University, following in his footsteps as a physics major. And I wound up staying up all night playing guitar and playing banjo in a bluegrass band and playing in a football pep band and singing an a cappella group, and every musical group I could get into, I did. And I wound up, leaving my scientific studies behind and playing music. And of course, my parents were afraid for me, and I know that as a parent myself, that sometimes you're just worried about your child, and so they were afraid I would be throwing my life away, and they told me that. but but once, well, Janis Joplin recorded the song that Johanna and I wrote, and that was on the Pearl album, and was the first big artist who'd recorded a song of ours, and so I. What happened was that they listened to that, or my mother or Dance with Me said, That's it. I don't have to worry about John anymore.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. Well, I know about parents worrying about their children. My brothers and I put my parents through a lot. Um, I have a brother who was on the path to become an architect, and he chose not to do his final exam and never got his degree after 5 years, even though he was making dean's list. And he went into the music business. And I remember at the time my parents said, we threw all of our money away and look at him. And he ended up doing very well for himself.
Good.
And I wanted to go into broadcasting, and my parents said, no woman will ever make it. And so, I did so many other things until I had that confidence. And obviously that's something that you had as a young man. You had the confidence that you were going to work towards your craft. Um, and look where it's gotten you. I mean, it's wonderful that you are still enjoying music, still writing, still playing, still performing.
It is amazing. I'm very grateful, and I'm keenly aware of how blessed I am and how I happen to be in the right place at the right time sometimes, and also that I had some talent that the Creator gave me, and I also worked really hard at it. A lot of things come into play, and some people never get that right place in the right time kind of break. Um, and having Janis Joplin record your song is like kind of like bowling a strike the first time out, and
Yes.
then you have to throw a lot of gutter balls while you get the ball back up in the lane into the strike zone. And so, I'm grateful for all of that, and also I'm grateful to be here today. I have a friend who says, "Nice to be here, nice to be anywhere." And I think during this COVID, year and a half, it's been something we've all become aware of.
Absolutely. So tell us one more time the name of this new release that came out this past week.
It's Reclaiming My Time, John Hall. It's on Sunset Boulevard Records, and you can find out more about it on my website, which is johnhallmusic.com. And it's available on Amazon and Target and all the streaming services. So it should be easy to find. And, maybe if you actually have a record store close to you, it's probably available through them. If it's not there, they can order it. But it's a collection of songs, a few that were older songs that I put out on my own little record label. They never got the promotion or the distribution that they deserved. So I did remixed and remastered a couple of those and put them on this record. But most of the songs were written in the last year and a half and recorded during the pandemic. So it's been an interesting challenge. Some of us are lucky enough to be able to remake our job and work from home or do something. The gentleman who did my video for Alone Too Long, his name is Rob Arthur. He plays with Peter Frampton for the last 20 years or something. And you can hear the train. That's the
Yes, I
train.
can. I'm loving it.
I know. Rob Arthur is a keyboard player and did some work on Peter Frampton's website besides playing keyboards with him, and discovered that he had this aptitude for editing video. And in the last year, he's been doing videos of the Doobie Brothers in isolation, all playing, listening to music, or Blackwater, or Peter Frampton, or Nick Fleetwood, or Sammy Hagar. And he also did a couple of Orleans videos, my band, and also this one, the John Hall Alone Too Long video. He did that as well. And it's amazing with the technology we have today that we can take people who are in different locations and record them and video them and make it, and someone like him can make it look like we were all playing together in the same place.
Absolutely. It's it's phenomenal what we've learned. It's phenomenal how things have changed. Growing up in the 50s and 60s, Uh, Music was something that we listened to on what is called a planner. And some people will look at us and say, "What is that?" And then you talk about an 8 track and uh, all the different formats that have come along.
Right.
Um, and now all we have to do is go out on the internet and stream it. But what I recommend is that everybody uh, pay for what they're streaming, because individuals like John put their heart and soul into the music. And you know what? We want to make sure that you get paid for whatever it is that we're listening to.
Thank you so much. It's I, I I mean, I'm really happy when people buy my record or CD. It will be an album on vinyl too soon. The record pressing plants for vinyl are backed up, so
Yes.
it's not available yet as that. But it's the young up and coming writers and performers. Those are the ones that really need us to buy their record and make sure that if it's online that we're paying for it. So because is when I was growing up and becoming, and I didn't, I didn't think, oh, 50 years from now, I'll be making a living playing music. I just loved what I was doing and was driven to do it. A friend of mine has a son who he says has a guitar growing out of his waist. He's never separated from it, and that's kind of what I was, the way I was. So for those young up and coming musicians, I think it's just really important that we remember that a stream, they might get paid 1/1000% of what they used to get from a terrestrial radio airplay.
Right.
So it's important for the future of our American music that people do get paid.
And I also want to encourage people that when you hear of a performer playing in a small venue, go take a listen, because these are individuals that you may never hear of in any other format. And uh, we have a lot of very good homegrown musicians all around the country. Um, and in reality, John, that's probably what you were right in the beginning of the day. So we have to give everybody a chance, and just keep listening to music, because music is, it's a universal language, and it makes most of us really feel good.
Yeah, I think that's true, and it definitely makes me feel good. I've over the years I've heard from people who said our song "Time Passes On" got them through their parents' funeral, or that when I was in Congress, I heard one of my I was a Democratic representative, but I was riding up to the floor for a series of votes in the elevator, and one of my Republican colleagues was standing next to me in this packed elevator, and he turned to me and said, "Did you write that song, Dance with Me?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Would you sign this for my wife? That was the first dance at our wedding." And it just it crosses boundaries. Music, hopefully can reach everybody regardless of what their other beliefs are or positions are. And that's we need as much of that as we can get.
Well, I'm hoping all of our all of our electric, all of our elected officials are listening to this and realize that we are all human. We're all in this together. And, our labels don't identify really who we are. So it's time to come together, and somebody can come together over a song. How wonderful is that? That is,
There is a song on my Reclaiming My Time record called "Now More Than Ever," and the chorus goes, "Now more than ever, we've got to stand together, hearts and hands entwined. Now more than ever, we've got to stand together to weather these stormy times. Now more than ever." And it was Johanna, my ex-wife, and I wrote this. The first song we've written together in 25 years, and we started it right before and finished it during the pandemic. But it's true. It's true politically. It's true internationally. It's true in terms of relationships and families. Just remember that it's more important that we be able to work together than that we hold our ground and fight about things that in the long run may or may not be important.
well, I think we're going to end it on that, because it sums it all up. It sums up John Hall, and we hope to see you when you are roaming the country and performing. Now, you mentioned Michigan, so that's sort of close to where I am in Ohio. So, where in Michigan are you going to be performing?
Uh, I think it's near Grand Rapids. I'm sorry, I don't have my schedule in
That's
front of me.
okay. That's okay.
But if you want to know, you can go to my website, johnhallmusic.com, or to Orleans website, which is orleansonline.com, and see our tour schedule. And we do have a couple shows in Ohio coming up. So we'll try to get as close. And also, we'll let you know when we're going to be nearby. And I hope you got a copy of the CD sent to you. And if not, I'll make sure that you do.
Very good. Well, have a wonderful day. It was wonderful talking to you. And now I have to go listen to more of your music.
Well, please do. And thanks so much, Karen. It's been great to share your air and speak with your listeners. So
Thank
thanks
you
for
very
having me.
much. Have a great day. Bye bye now.
Bye.